Well, Liam, we're so happy to have you here on Hangfire. You are quite the world traveler, I understand, and you attest that the Rolling Stones have had a huge influence on your travels. What is it about their music and their career that inspires this sense of adventure in you?
I don't know what it is about the music. And great to meet you, Justin, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, no, I've traveled quite extensively in the last few years. So I think like recently I've done many islands in Hawaii and Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia. I was in New Orleans to see the Stones at Jazz Fest last year, and Bali and New York, Montreal, Seattle. I saw them in Seattle and Vegas. So yeah, I've been all over Tokyo, all over Japan. I don't know if it's so much the music. The music is like the soundtrack to the adventure a lot of the times. I think what inspires me most to travel and to see the world is sort of like the band itself. There's a great documentary. I think it's Ole Ole Ole, traveling across South America. And it's just, I watched it recently with a friend of mine. We were killing time in Miami, and he'd never seen it before. And I was like, you got to see just the world through their lens a bit, right? And that sort of has inspired me, not that movie specifically, but the amount they've traveled in their career and their lifetimes, and the people that they've met. Like I talk to people all the like I'm a bit of a younger fan. I just turned 30, but I've been a fan since I was probably 15 or something, right? So yeah, I talk to people my age, and they're like, "Oh, why are you such a big fan of this old band?" Right? I'm like, "You don't get it. They've literally been around since before man walked on the moon." That is how.
I've never heard put it that way, but it's true.
Right? And
in fact, they were the first people to walk on Earth at the Stones, actually.
Yes,
Did you know that?
Keith.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, but you got to imagine all the different people that they've crossed paths with. A lot of people that aren't around anymore. So you think about like Andy Warhol and the impact that he had on their, album art, or guys like Jimi Hendrix, or, the Beatles, and so many different people. And that just comes from traveling the world, and that comes from, exploring different cultures, going to different cities. I think that's probably been the biggest inspiration.
If you think about it, not only have they traveled the world, they've lived in different parts of the world, and throughout their time and their lifetime, that you realize that these are interesting world travelers, not just musicians.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen it all.
Yeah, and that influences the music and the point of view. I think Keith and Mick are probably two of the most interesting guys in the world. If you think about their full lives as 80-year-old men, man, that's like 10 movies.
Right. Absolutely.
More so than, I want to work in events, or I want to be in music, or anything like that. It's more the don't stop, just keep moving, right? Keep moving forward and just do what you're passionate about. So I was in Bali actually in July or something, and I got a Rolling Stone Gathers No Moss.
Fantastic.
Right.
Nice.
Not because it's, anything to do with them particularly, but it's a nice reminder of my love for the band. But, it's a really good ethos to live by, in the sense that, you don't want to be complacent. You got one life. I think your heaven or hell is right here on earth while you're living. So, you may as well go out and pursue whatever you want to do.
In improv comedy, it's the idea of yes and.
Yes and, yeah.
Whatever happens, you just go with it. And how many times has the universe told the Stones, stop, you need to stop here, and they said, oh, that's what you think.
I know. Well, they were supposed to play Vancouver on that 2020 tour that got canceled because of COVID. And me and my buddy had tickets. And when they had the rescheduled dates, a lot of people forget this, actually. I think this is kind of interesting. It kind of gets lost in the mix when you hear about Charlie's passing and Steve taking over. But they had announced, actually, before Charlie had passed away, that he was under the weather, ill, and Steve Jordan would be, covering for him. And then maybe Charlie was going to play the last couple shows at the end of the tour. That's sort of what actually happened. A lot of people just think Charlie died and then Steve took over, right? And that's what my friend thought. So sorry, Vancouver had got canceled when they rescheduled the dates because of, travel restrictions with COVID. But they added Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. And so we were like, you know what, let's just go. Let's get out of Canada. Let's, because we'd been in lockdown for so long. We're like, let's go to Vegas, see the Stones. But I remember my friend called me the same day Charlie died and goes, I don't know if you saw, but Charlie Watts just passed away. And I goes, what should we do? Because we had booked our flights and everything. He goes, I think they're not going to play, right? Well, it just happened too. It was the same day, that same afternoon. I went, I would say maybe not if they hadn't already announced that Steve Jordan was going to sit in. But because they had announced that already, I went, they're going to play. I guarantee you they'll play. And sure enough, 5 years later or something, and they're still going and just put out a great album, right?
Yeah. I mean, we know many other bands who have lost their band members in their prime.
Yeah, Zeppelin.
And have said, well, that's, and that's a fair choice to make. But it's another fair choice to also say, fuck, and let's keep going, and they took that road.
And, I think a lot of the times other bands would make that choice, and it's probably not the right choice. And somehow for the Stones, it's debatable in the moment, but when the full thing plays out, you go, it was the right decision, right?
The sense of community at a Stones show, every live event has that feeling. It's a very ritualistic, kind of like we're all gathered here today, kind of a feel at any event. But a Stones show, there's something unique.
Yeah, I think it's again, they've been around since before man walked on the moon. So it's that really, really intergenerational crowd when you go. And so I've taken friends that really don't know many songs, right? And I go, you'll know. You don't even have to listen to like a playlist before. I said, I'll make you one, but you already are going to know half that set list. I guarantee you, right? So I just in Vancouver, actually, I took my buddy, and not a big Stones fan, but a big music fan. And when they broke into, You Can't Always Get What You Want, I just saw him go, right? It's like, yeah, right. You forget. And it's probably not a song he'd listened to in the last decade, if I had to guess. But that's a song that's sort of ingrained in pop culture for sure, right? So, you look around, and I think the person beside me was in her, if I had to guess, 70s, and we're in our 20s and 30s. And, there was a guy with his younger son behind us, I think. So, yeah, it's special. There's really no other band like them aside from maybe seeing Paul McCartney and they're playing the Beatles stuff, right?
Last year, a friend went with me to Cleveland, and he was a fan. Never saw them live though. And on the ride over, he said, "Geez, what if I don't know most of the songs? I know a lot of the songs." And I said to him, "You don't understand that this concert was designed for you."
Yeah.
People who think, "Oh, I don't know." No, you're gonna know these songs. And it's amazing because what band has a show where it's almost pretty close to song after song after song, as opposed to most bands where it's like that moment usually happens at the end of the show for maybe 2 songs.
Yeah.
3 songs.
No, exactly. I remember the first time I saw them was in Seattle on the 2019 tour. And so luckily did get to see them with Charlie. It was actually it was one of those shows where the magic's just in the air, right? Seattle's got an open roof stadium, and you can see the city skyline and stuff. It's quite a beautiful, every show I've seen in Seattle at that stadium's been phenomenal. And I went with 3 friends. I think we were 23 or 24. And my buddy, who's a sweet guy, but emotional, started crying when the fireworks were going off, just bawling. I'm like, "What's wrong?" Right? He goes, I just can't believe we saw the Rolling Stones. And he goes, "I just feel like this is sort of it. This is probably, they're the ones that started it all. It's just really amazing and special." And little did he know we'd see them like 2 or 3 more times together, right? But Unreal. Unfucking real.
Describe
But my other friend Carmen, she loved it, and we're walking out of the stadium and we're talking about it, and wasn't that amazing? And she goes, "Yeah, but they didn't play Wild Horses." And I was like, "Yeah, well, they played Brown Sugar and they played Can't Always Get What You Want and Beast of Burden and Satisfaction." She goes, "Yeah, I guess so. When a band has that many songs, it's hard to fit everything in, right?"
Yeah, that's the problem with mix one ballad per show rule.
Yeah, I got to see them do Wild Horses twice on this last tour last year, and it was, you know what? I have no shame in saying that I started crying too. Just to see Mick and Keith sing the chorus together and like that vocal harmony at this stage in the game, it's pretty emotional, and it's one of the most beautiful songs ever written.
I know what you mean, because I've tried to watch every clip of Wild Horses on this tour, and I was also struck with just how wonderful they sounded, and Keith has got that extra grit and texture to his voice, and I've always said that the Mick and Keith vocal blend is one of the most underrated vocal blends.
Absolutely. I love when they sang together. It's very poignant at this point too.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what kind of washed over me during a lot of these shows was realizing, holy crap, they're doing this and I'm here and it's working. It's working.
Yeah.
There was this great quote that I think the Washington Post had during the 2021 tour that says something to the nature of, I'll put it up on the screen, but
I know it's what you're talking about.
Like this is not the band,
not living out past fantasies. This is greatness.
Yeah, this is greatness happening right now. Exactly. And it's like dead on right,
Yes. No, absolutely. I was worried in New Orleans, actually. That was the first show I caught them on last year at Jazz Fest. And I was a bit worried. They were quite sloppy and Keith wasn't really playing much. And when he did play, it was like a little bit out of tune and stuff. And I went, oh boy, maybe this is I don't know. You had that gut feeling, right? And then I saw them, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks later in Seattle. And it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And they were firing on all cylinders. And you go, okay, well, proving me wrong again.
They're good at that.
Yeah, no, they're amazing.
You mentioned beforehand that you have a great Charlie story that you had heard. I'd love to hear it.
So this one comes from my old managing director at Rugby Canada. And so he's got a lot of different friends across Canada, I think. So when I was going to go see them in Vegas and I was taking the time off, I had said, well, I'm going to go see the Stones, right? And goes, oh, wow, cool. He goes, I've got a great story about, do you know their drummer, Charlie Watts? I'm like, yes, right. Nobody expects someone my age to know as much as I do or be as passionate as I am, I guess, right? I went, oh, yeah, of course, right? And he goes, I've got a great story about their drummer, Charlie Watts. And he goes, my buddy, as a musician, and his band opened for them. He's like, the guy's biggest break was opening for the Stones, right? So he goes, this was, I think he said it was in the early 2000s. So maybe 2002 or 3, if I had to guess. And I think he said it was somewhere in Ontario. So he goes, yeah, they'd opened for the band. Before they went out, they had met Charlie in the hallway. And Charlie was going, oh, yeah, it's great to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, my buddy's saying, oh, thanks for the opportunity. And Charlie just kept looking at his shirt and going, yeah, it's a great shirt you got. That's a really nice shirt, right? And he goes, oh, okay. Well, thank you. And they go, so they went out and did their set. They played. And they come back out. And I think someone on the crew had said, oh, Charlie keeps talking about your shirt, right? And he goes, they're in their green room or whatever. And he's going, fuck. Do I have to give Charlie Watts my shirt? Is that kind of what they're saying, right? And the band goes, dude, you just give him the shirt. We just opened for the Stones, right? And so he goes out to see if he can find him, and Charlie's there in the hall somewhere. And he goes, oh, Charlie, thanks for the opportunity. I want to give you this shirt. So he literally took the shirt off his back and gave it to Charlie. Charles, oh, thanks. That's great. And he said at the same time, Keith's walking down to go to the stage, and he just looks at him and goes, Charlie, another one. You got another one, huh, Charlie? So it sounded like it was something he would do a lot to anyone that had an article of clothing that he wanted.
Wow, that's amazing. I thought that would be a Keith move to do. Keith was apparently known to
Yeah,
go yoink with shirts and
yeah,
fashion.
that was funny. Well, I could imagine Charlie doing it very subtly, right?
Yeah.
This beautiful shirt.
Now I kind of want to see a picture of this shirt. It sounds like I bet you it was a very some kind of a button up of some
Probably.
sort.
Yeah, probably. No,
Uh,
so that was a cool story.
Seems like anyone who's spent a minute with Charlie has a story about Charlie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or Keith.
Right. Absolutely. That's great. Well, Liam, you've been a longtime Stones fan. What kind of things do you see happening for the Stones at this point now? You've seen them a few times during this stage of the game. What do you think is left for them to do?
It's a tough one, isn't it? At this point, you know time's not on their side, but people have been saying that. Actually, it was funny enough. I was at a record store yesterday, and they had I think Circus magazine or something from the 70s. And I just picked it up, and it was from 1978, and it had the Stones. I'll send you a photo that you can put on, but it had the Stone, Mick and Keith, and it said the headline was something like Stones, rocks, aging bad boys. Will this tour be the last time? And that was 1978, right? So, but
Showed them.
yeah, I mean, I expect that they will tour again. I was disappointed that the proposed European tour didn't follow through. I would have seen them in, I think, London and Paris was probably the plan because I'll be going to Europe this summer. The timing worked out. I mean, I think they'll tour again, God willing, and they're healthy and everything. I think, probably another album. That's probably maybe more my hope than anything else, but there's rumors that they've recorded at least half of another album. And I think when you heard Mick doing press for Hackney Diamonds, he would mention that, oh, this isn't the last album, and there's another one coming soon enough. And I don't think he's the type to say that unless he really believes it. So, and I think you had Anthony Curtis on, and he's been a great guest, right? I love reading his stuff too. But even he had mentioned, I think, in your interview that Mick seemed really proud of themselves in that last press cycle, and really proud of the album, and proud that they were able to finish it. And I think that probably renewed a bit of passion for getting stuff out there. And the new stuff live was received really well. Like, I think almost everyone that was in the crowd around me knew Angry, or at least knew it by the end of the song. So
What did
yeah,
you think of Hackney Diamonds? Did you like Hackney Diamonds?
yeah. Short answer, yeah. When I first heard some of the stuff, I thought it was too slick. I thought it was a bit too poppy. I thought Mick's vocal was too front forward. Like, it was really near the top of the mix. And I mean, I'm a fan of your channel, so I've listened to a lot of the videos or watched a lot of the videos. And, I think you had mentioned that you're sort of missing a lot of those Keithisms that open, like those sort of Keith licks, like what's Keith doing there, right? But I do like the album. It's grown on me considerably. I play Mess It Up quite a bit, Get Close, Angry, Whole Wide World. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's what Mick wants, right? Keith's always going to record if Mick wants to, and Mick wants to record an album that sounds like it was made now with a producer that's my age. And I think that's cool. I think, why not, right?
Yeah, and if you're going to get someone, who's younger than the band, why not, as Andy Watts puts it, a fan from behind the rails, as a quote, as he puts it, an
Yeah.
actual Stones fan nerd. Who
Yeah.
better to produce it? I think the results show that it worked.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see what else they would do. I don't know that, you know, I don't know that it would sound exactly the same as Hackney Diamonds did. I feel like Mick would probably want to do something a bit different. So I don't know what those songs would sound like. I have a feeling they would probably be a little bit more experimental. And I would want to see what Keith brings to the table this time, because I feel like, he played on the album, but I didn't feel like he had his songs on the album.
You know what song didn't grab me the first round when I heard the album, but later I there you are, Keith. Even though it was obvious, is Driving Me Too Hard.
Yeah.
Towards the end,
And I think that's Keith's song, right?
Yeah, and I was too bothered by the Tumbling Dice intro that was very oh, come on.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, I mean, it's a nice song, but to me it's a bit filler.
Mm-hmm. It's a sweet melody kind of song, and as opposed to, hey Keith, we'd love something a little tougher from you.
Well, what's funny is I in the summertime or whatever, I've had, since the album's dropped, I guess I've had a lot of different people in the car and girls in the car, and if Mess It Up comes on, every girl that I've had in the car is going, what is this? I'm like, oh, this is the new Rolling Stones song. I'm like, really? And then they'll ask me later, can you text me the name of that song? I really liked it. Yeah, I know one person, it's one of her favorite songs now. So that's cool. I think it's nice.
I did get emotional when that song came on, even though it's not an emotional song at all. But because, that's Charlie's first entrance on the album. And to hear when he comes in, you're just like, oh, man. And he's just rocking it.
It's crazy how much I miss Charlie Watts. I'll see a clip of him on Instagram or something. I miss that guy. I've never met him, but he's such an amazing player, and as great as Steve Jordan is, Charlie will never be replaced.
No, I totally get you. Well, before we go, Liam, we're gonna play, if you're up for it, a little bit of a what I called Crossfire. It's a segment where I throw at you about 5 or 6 questions.
Sure.
Rapid fire. There's no wrong answer, obviously, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on these questions. So, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Give me your top 5 albums.
Oh, geez.
Surprise.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Top 5 Stones albums, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, Exile. Probably Exile as number 1. So there's 3 right off the top. Man. You know what? I'm going to be cavalier and throw Hackney Diamonds in there.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's the only album that I've been able to be like a fan when it drops, right?
I see. Right.
In so long, right? So being able to watch all the promotions and go to the tour multiple times and stuff, I think it just has sort of a place for me. I'll go with Tattoo You.
Nice. Great.
That's got some great stuff.
Good choices. What's one song do you think that needs more attention, more love that no one ever talks about?
Oh, man. Moonlight Mile.
Yeah. Nice. Best Keith Richards riff.
Oh, I think Jumpin' Jack Flash. I think it's probably the greatest Keith riff of all time. Every time he plays Jumpin' Jack Flash, it's like a song that's in my head pretty much all day long. And if I pick up the guitar, I've got one guitar that's always an open G. I put the capo on the 4th fret and just slash that out. Yeah, it's fantastic.
The quintessential Keith riff.
Absolutely.
Oh, if you had to hang out with a Rolling Stone, living or dead, who would that be?
Man. You always think that Keith would be the fun one to hang out with, but I feel like as I've grown older, I probably would relate more to Mick, because he's got really both sides to things, right? And I think we'd have some good conversation. So,
last question: if you were to attend any Stones show ever, do you have one in mind that you'd like to somehow be teleported back to?
oh man. Well, you know what? I'm just glad that I got to see them with Charlie. And I think that 2019 tour was phenomenal. I thought they played really well. They played great set lists. But if I had to go back to a show, they played, I've got a book here called Vancouver in the 70s. It's a great coffee table book. And in it, there's a photo of Jagger from 72. And they played the Pacific Coliseum here in Vancouver, where I used to work. And it was the first night of Exiles tour. I think Tina Turner opened. I think that would have been a cool one.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been a cool one. Liam, this was a great pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure.